Hello and welcome to another video on how to become a business consulting freelancer. So I'm just going to make a quick recap, especially on the last module, the module 4, section 4, and how to conduct a research and gather quality data. So recognize how important is the data and powerful, especially to influence, persuade, or reinforce your point of view, but also can be misleading. And because of that, especially when you're conducting a research for a consulting project, it is important to recognize is where are the most valuable to the least valuable. Data that come from the company, usually you have to sign an NDA agreement for that. Once you do that, then you can look at what they have done in the past and see how they have been performing. From there, you can provide your suggestions. The secondary data or from trust sources, which are from sources that have proven record, research report, peer review, and then the aggregate sources, especially when you don't, if that industry is too new or there aren't too much trust sources out there, or there isn't any source trust sources out there. So aggregate sources might be a way to go, especially this is the least valuable because you can verify is the quality of the data in the who the author really is. But even though it is important to mention where this data come from, even though that comes from aggregate sources. And from there, look at now from a broad perspective is that how you're going to conduct a research, like playing devil advocate with yourself. So look things from different perspective because things are not black and white. Second, research relevant data, something that is very underrated, and then keep note or take notes and keep records of every source you obtain. Then you qualify the quality of the sources, and then don't forget to circle back with the client or with your own notes, right? Based on your first iterations or based on this first research iterations, you can then following is a similar approach from ChatGPT prompt engineering, which is focuses on the iteration, right? And how to write effective and good prompts. Because the whole idea, I know this is a little bit of the course, but just a quick note, the whole idea of this iterative process is to recognize that it is more important to have a good process uh, for writing prompts, and then you get a prompt that is likely to get the task that you want to do. So each iteration you improve your uh, prompt and you get the desired output. So somewhat similar here when you're going to conduct a research, which is, well, play devil advocate with that research or look things from different perspectives, especially when you're going to conduct a research, look things with different goggles, then uh, research relevant data as well as taking notes and keep record of every source you obtain, so you ultimately qualify what you obtain, and then you present that to the client to get this feedback, right? So this is an iterative process. Uh, so based on that, okay, then I look at an example of how Paul Mendes, the Zero to Mastery structure, made based on a tourist website. So he looked at the website based on their marketing Google's. So he looked at a particular website, then he look for genetics, so understand what this company is, all their product and service, and then go into the specifics about the company review, how much money or the pricing of this product and service, what they have done in the past. And if you can have access to the first party data, that's great, because now once you make this first initial research based on their brand, the reputation, their products and service, as well as the pricings, you can then look at who the other players are in that industry by see what they're doing and see what you can learn from them. So with that, this competitor analysis, now it is time to make a keyword research to understand what's going on in this industry. Okay, to have a clear idea of what's going on in that industry. And then on top of that, well, you can to look at for updated news to get up to date data and ask yourselves everything that I have researched, what is most likely to work today? Okay, so which is something that kind of that's something that I did especially to get an understanding of what an e-commerce is. So I asked for different sources, okay, like Amazon and like Amazon and Shopify, for example. So Amazon mentioned that e-commerce refers to all aspect, particularly the e-commerce refers to the transaction of good and service over the internet. So you can think of them as your bustling city center or your brick and mortar shop converted into zeros and ones on the internet the internet superhighway. So which Shopify, that while e-business refers to operating all aspects of an online business and specific activity of an online business, you have marketing, according to Investopedia. So you have marketing, uh, so they make a market research, develop marketing strategies, so create ads campaign, and then ultimately manage uh, social network accounts. You also have sales, that they identify potential leads or sell leads, and then make a sell or a sales call or video presentations. So they negotiate the terms and conditions, or negotiate this contract, and ultimately close the deal, the closers. So then I look at the finance or the accounting, which they are responsible to keep track of the financial transaction, create reports based on that data, as well as keep tracking of taxes, among other tasks. The human research, which are responsible for hiring and which are responsible for hiring talent, administering benefits and payrolls, as well as provide training to employees and solve any employee issues. The process management, or in this case, is the production. um, that is the productions operations. What you have is this. Mm, 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 Interesting. Mm, Theoretical data, now Excel software, visual, managing well. Okay. Uh, I think it's this. No, but this is more about the something that I'm going to talk about. That the specific business activity. Well, it's okay. Anyway, um, give me examples of specific business activities. Oh, example of manufacturing. So no, it's more like what are business activities? What are business activities? So you have operations, marketing, exactly operations, human research, procurement, supply chain, research and development, legal, customer relationship, and IT. So he outline is this, okay? List of business activities, okay? hmm So operations, which is another thing, the operations which are responsible, something that they mention here. So operations are responsible for manage the core business operations such as production, manufacturing, keep looking at quality standards. Also, we have is the IT sector, where now we have things, or so they are. So the IT takes in account is the managing servers, or, as well as developing and implementing software system, provide technical support, ensure data security, among other things, customer customer service, which are responsible to in address customer inquiries as well as administrating some administrating returns, or any customer issue, provide technical support, and check the customer satisfaction. And then you have the R&D, the research and development, where now they're responsible for developing new prototypes, implement or improve the existing products, as well as create patents, among other things. But the important thing is to recognize this specific business activities, right? Whether it's marketing, sales, accounting or finance, human research, operations, IT, customer service, and R&D. But e-commerce refers specifically to the trade of good and service on the internet. And then I look at the different actors involved in this, okay, such as the government, the consumers, and the business. Now, also how they relate each other. So the most widely common business model is the business to consumers, where now business uh, offer is good and service to consumers, such as online retailers like Amazon, Costco, Target, a digital marketplace like Etsy or eBay, subscription service like Shopify, Netflix, ordering of food and delivery service like Uber Eats, DoorDash, Grubhub on US, as well as the traveling and booking such as Airbnb, Booking.com, or Expedia. I also look at the uh, the business to business relationship, such as online marketplace like Alibaba, Amazon Business, eBay Business, as well as the um, EDI, this electronic data interchange paperwork that were traditionally made on paper, like invoice or purchase order. Now it is done electronically and it is exchanged across different companies or within the company itself using this EDI, right? Something that IBM provide. Also, wholesale e-commerce like Uline and Grainger, so where manufacturers and distributors sell directly to business. The other is online retailer or online portals. So for very large business organizations that they need to streamline their procurement process or supply chain, well, setting an online portal or setting a supply of these online portals will help this. So Walmart provide that as Walmart Supply Center or SAP Ariba Network. And also the business to business payment solutions such as PayPal or Stripe. And when it comes to consumer to business, so you have freelance work, which is something like I'm doing right now. Okay. This is part of this business model. Okay. So freelance work. So consumers can offer, for example, web design, graphic design, web developments to corporation. Okay, and the other is online server like SurveyMonkey, user-generated content, where now consumers sell their uh, digital content, whether it's audio, video, or image, to business in place like Shutterstock or Envato, Audio Jungle from Envato, crowdfunding like Indiegogo or Kickstarter, and reverse auction, where now consumers submit a price quota to bid on good and service offered by a business. Okay, so with that, then I also look at another relationship amounts now with the government and the business, such as procurement portals. So now government agency provides online platforms for government agency provide online platform to business so they can bid on government contracts like the FBO, the Federal Business Opportunity, or the uh, like the FBO, the Federal Business Opportunity, or the uh, Jesus, the Federal Business Opportunity, or the UK, uh, the UK Contract Finder Service. I also saw, for example, tax filing and payment systems like the electronic federal tax payment system on the US or the HM Custom Revenue from UK, as well as the license and permits such as food license or permit license, food license or building permits, international trade and custom clearance like uh, international trade and custom clearance. such as electronic custom clearance, sorry, such as electronic custom clearance or export declaration, as well as business registration. Uh, so in the US, the Small Business Administration, in the UK is the Company House. Another relationship is now with the government to consumers, where they offer tax portals, so citizens can now pay taxes in place like the IRS website, the Internal Revenue Service, or the the Internal Revenue Service, or the UKHM Custom and Revenue. Okay, and also, uh, mhm. So I also look, for example, in another example of government to consumers, like license and vehicle registrations, passport applications, such as the US State of Department Passport Service in the US, or the UK General Register Office, as well as payment of utility bills, ordering birth and death certificates in the US on the National Center for Health Statistics. It's a very, very interesting website, completely, man. So you can see how what US citizens needs to improve, even though they live in the most generous and wealthy environments. They're not the same. They're not the healthiest, you know. Anyway, uh, and now the relationship with the consumers to the government, such as online petitions, online donations, tax or payment of fines and fees, permit and hunting licensing, such as fishing licensing or hunting permits. So with that, okay, now then I jump is on look at what are the other players in that industry, such as, well, Amazon, IKEA, Alibaba, such as Alibaba, IKEA, Amazon, uh, yeah, Amazon, Alibaba, IKEA, um, yeah, that kind of things like Amazon, Alibaba, IKEA, Shopify, eBay, right? So then I look now is at how you can create is a report that is visually engaging based on your research, because ultimately you want us to show how you came to the conclusion, because the client wants and needs to know that. So by showing them charts and statistics to show them meaningful patterns, then you can present them and ultimately reach to an agreement based on your research to implement your solution, right? So there is another interesting here that mentioned from the MIT in 2014 that mentioned that neuroscientists discover that human can detect image for as human can detect image scenes for as little as 13 milliseconds. So simple, that is 13 milliseconds or 14, I think it's 14 milliseconds. MIT study on image. Okay, MIT study on image in the blink of an eye, 30 milliseconds. That's right. So MIT neuroscientists find that the brain uh, can identify image scenes for as little as 13 milliseconds. Can identify image scenes for as little as 13 milliseconds. So what does it mean, or what is translated to? Well, it is important to create this visually engaging presentation, and especially when you're doing that, first know what you're gonna put in that report. Okay, so make your research and your data first. So make your research first, and you know what exactly is going to be in that report. This is also something that can give you by experience. So with that, then look at mhm. And then for that is okay. So for that, look at the so once you know what is going to put in that research, so once you know what you're going to put on that report, another thing is put the most important thing first, because you want to lay down the ground first. You don't want the client start to forget what was the most. You don't want the client to forget what the important thing was, and that is showing the most impactful data, and then expand that with statistic and different aesthetics. Talking about that is also create some templates, especially for recurring clients, to speed up that process, and use chart and statistics or graph here. Use chart and graph to visualize that. Why? Because ultimately, as human, we can process visually data much more faster and help us make more informed decision, and help us to make more informed decision. So that's the whole idea of this. That's the whole point of creating. So conduct a research, and they create a report. This is also something that you can apply for yourself. Okay, because this is not something that is for. Okay, this is not something that is for. Mhm, interesting, very very interesting. So this is not something for. Okay, this is not something for a profession. This is also for life. You know what I mean? This is also for life. Okay, this is also for life. Interesting, very very interesting. And I'm going to mention this that later on. Okay, but in any case, hmm interesting, very very interesting. So, all right. So the chart that we can use in our report can be is bar graph, which are helpful to show change over time as well as compare different things. Pie charts, which are great to compare part of it to a whole from discrete or continuous data. This is more impactful for small data sets or where there's uh, not too many variables because it's not readable. Line graph, great for showing time series relationship such as acceleration, decelerations of volatility, or trends. Sorry. Area charge, which is a combo with a line charge, but now with volume, which you can represent is time series relationship with three variables. In scatter plot, which is another that we can see is the correlation of data. And again, correlation doesn't mean causality, but that's a whole new video. But correlation doesn't mean causality, and you have is, for example, on the x-axis time to response, and on the g-axis customer satisfactions, and you will see most of the time graph close all of this group here, right? The more satisfied the user is when their customer satisfactions or the customer service respond them quickly. Okay, uh, with bubble charge, which is a combo mix between this, the area charge, and scatter plot. And here it is useful to see is nominal data or ranking data. So nominal data in which uh, the data doesn't have an inherent value, in an inherent order, I mean, such as color of your eyes, color, card, fruit, ethnicity, and here you can represent is three variables. So for example, time spent on the internet versus age, and inside of this circle you can do that per age, right? Again, this is also to see is the correlation of data, but you have to be careful because correlation doesn't mean causality. In any case, then I also look at something called the map heat, which are great for showing categorical data that can be grouped in classes or group, whether it's nominal, that kind of data that doesn't have an inherent order, such as the color of the eye, the ethnicity, marital status, car, fruits, or ordinary data that has an inherent order, such as job seniority, entry level, junior level, mid, senior, and C executive, income brackets, health, such as poor, fair, good, very good, or excellent, or rating a product like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stars. So this categorical data that allows to show in a heat map using intensity of colors allows to represent is on maps or tables. So the most widely common use of this is when you see, for example, this. Most of the examples that comes into my mind are very, very polemic, but in any case, the number of immigrants from South America on the U.S. per state, and you can use that data heat map to show that. Most of the time, you will find it in Texas, in New Mexico, or California, Florida, all right? And I also look at the geomaps to show distribution of data on a particular region. So, for example, to show is the brick and mortar of a particular brand, as well as the waterfall chart to show performance over time, tables to see or to compare, for example, sales representative or where block view are coming from, as well as pictograph, which are helpful to show its data uh, or statistic with icons. So, for example, one of 9 people on Earth doesn't have access to clean water clean according to cleanwater.org. Is clean water clean water team cleanwater.org. Okay, so all right. Okay, that's their website. That's their website. Okay, cool. All right. So after I looked through all of these different graphs and charts that we can use to illustrate how do we reach the conclusion to the client based on the Mhm. Yeah, how do I reach the conclusion with the client based on Jesus. So once I look, yeah, once I look at all of these different charts and graph that we can use to indicate how do we came to that conclusion to the client by showing them with the statistics and illustrate the patterns that makes us reach to the conclusions, and from there decide if the client want to work with us so we can implement our solution. Okay. Then I look at communication tips for consulting. Very, very important, especially for complex topic breakdown. Uh, so if you're presenting your reports to an audience that doesn't know the industry jargon, so break it down. Yeah, so break it down in an easy. So break it down in an easier and digestible way that anyone can understand. The other is show that you understand the goals. Talk about that, uh, and make sure that you everything, and also avoid miscommunication. So make sure everything is in your control to avoid. So make sure everything in your control to avoid miscommunication. So always tell the truth to the client. So learn the client communication habit and work habit. Again, this is especially for the communication tips and consulting. Okay, learn the client communication habits and work habits. Okay, again, this is part of the consultation tips for consulting. Okay, know the communication habits and work habits. This is something that we learned that by experience. So basically, we don't actually we don't actually do things. So we don't actually we do that most of the time to adapt ourselves, but we don't know the name of that. So, and after all, those are communication habits and work habits. These are communications and work habits. So learn the client's communication habits, learn the client's communications and work habits. Okay, they're likely to work to each different. So each is different. So you want to cater to that. And cater, what does it mean? Cater, meaning Spanish. And to serve. Exactly. To serve. Catering. That's the reason why they use the word catering. So, in Spanish, this is un servicio de atención o logística. Atención logística. Okay, so you want to cater to that. You want to cater to each communication habits, and you want to cater to each communication and work habit. Also, see how you can learn from them, what can improve to you. So keep track everything that you communicate, all right, especially using a HubSpot or CRM. This is more likely it can be for sell leads or existing clients. In my case, it has been more for clients. I just wanted to keep track is client progress more than sell leads. Okay, be a team player and send brief updates. This is communication tips, right? Communication tips for your consultant. Break down complex topic, especially for people that don't have any background on that, and you talk about the industry jargon. So break down things in an easy word that can be digestible for anyone. Also, should show that you understand the goal and avoid miscommunication as much as possible. Learn the communication and work habits of your client because each one of them is different. Keep track everything that you have or that you communicate. Be also a team player and send brief updates. Okay, that's great. So what's next? What's next? What's next? Okay, let me unlock this. No. No, this is definitely no. Not at all. Mm-mm. Not at all. Exactly. Let me sign in here. But no, this is with my old credentials. Not at all. Join Zero to Master. No, what? Oh, come on, man. Join the academy. I just want to sign in here. That's right. Then this. That's right. And let's going to look at the console. Read. Okay, this is the complete freelance guide. That's right. There we are. And here we are. So here looking at the communication tips for consultants.
Welcome to the next lesson. In this lesson, we're going to be going over different communication client to hire you to do more
Okay.
integrity and that you have a different value on video client. It helps show in the project
Well, I think
as a positive because they're going to know that you're a good communicator.
Okay. Exercise imposter syndrome. What is this?
Hey everybody, I want to take a quick break here. Go grab a coffee, grab a tea, just take a break from all the learning that you just did. And I want to talk to you quickly about imposter syndrome. It's this idea that you're not good enough, that things are too complicated for you to ever achieve what you want to achieve. You look at other people, at other industry experts, and you say, I will never get there. But it's just a symptom of learning. This idea of you not being good enough simply means that, well, you're just not there yet. But it's just a symptom of learning. This idea of you not being good enough simply means that, well, you're just not there yet. Things take time. If you want to learn a valuable skill, well, it's hard work. That's why it's valuable. Remember how you felt on the first day of going to school, first day on a job. It's the same experience. But over time, with repetition, with practice, you get comfortable, you get experience, and you slowly start to lose that imposter syndrome. Now, this idea of an imposter syndrome, with repetition, with practice, you get comfortable, you get experience, and you slowly start to lose that imposter syndrome. Now, this idea of an imposter syndrome is great. It means you're doing something worthwhile. So don't use it as a negative. Use it as an encouragement that you're doing something good, that you're learning and you're stretching your limits. So with this break, I want to propose that we do a quick exercise. I want you to stop the lectures, again, grab a coffee, grab a tea, and head on over to our Discord. Now, in our Discord server, if you've used it up until now, that's great. If you haven't, head on.
Okay.
In this lesson, we will be going over A-B.
So that'll be all for this video. Okay. Yeah, that'll be all for this video. Take care.